I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 on a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.
Good evening, everybody. It's Dan with another Damn Fantasy podcast. And of course, Trevor here is with me as always. Shows presented by Stadium Rant. You can check them out at www.stadiumrant.com and see all of the different content that they're putting out on the website, whether it be written, our podcasts, of course, and then any video content you can find on the YouTube channel. If you just search Stadium Rant, that channel will come up when you jump into YouTube. And of course, you can subscribe if you're tuning in right now. Of course, this is a fantasy football show, right? We talk fantasy football, not a whole lot of NFL scenarios, but there really is a situation that cannot be ignored. Week 17, Monday night football game, Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills. There was just the most unfortunate incident came about with a young player in Damar Hamlin. Of course, he's been in our thoughts and prayers, and we've been sending all kinds of positivity as he goes through his recovery, but very scary situation. And when moments like that happen, whether it be, somebody getting a concussion and falling back down or something as serious as this, where, CPR and AED had to be used to bring this man back to life. It's really tough to overcome, and it really brings the gravity of that situation, brings you back down to earth. Most people are watching that game wondering if their favorite team's going to secure a playoff seed or if they're going to win their fantasy championship, and all of that melts away and pales in comparison to what ended up happening that evening. So, not to rehash too much about what happened, because if you're even remotely close to the NFL or not at all, you've been drawn into this situation by now, I'm sure of it. And, we just want to start the show by saying, all the positive vibes that we can send over to the Hamlin family, the Buffalo Bills, and even the Cincinnati Bengals organizations. We're going to do that and continue to, say prayers and make sure that that support is felt from our end. So thoughts out to number 3 for the Buffalo Bills. Fortunately, there's been some positive updates, some different announcements that were made by his family and his team that have mentioned him trending in the right direction. The good news, and Trevor, you mentioned it pre-show, he's alive and he has an opportunity here to fight for that. So, huge round of applause for the medical staff that was on the field on hand to give him that opportunity, and just a total freak occurrence. So, it just kind of speaks to how fragile life can be. And these things don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Although they are fun to talk about. It really is wild. What ended up happening Monday night. So, all the positivity going that way, Trevor.
Yeah, I think you said it best. And honestly, it's just it was heartbreaking to watch. It was brutal. It was unknown. You don't know what's going on. You're just trying to hope and pray that everything is well. And it wasn't at one point, right? And so Hopefully things get better and he can continue on what I assume will be a really long road to recovery. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about where do we go from here, right? Like, how do we close out week 17 as commissioners? We both commission leagues. This is a fantasy football show. We really want to kind of at least touch on some fantasy football commissioner type situations and how to close out your leagues with, you mentioned it. This was a huge game for NFL playoffs and fantasy football playoffs, but really that didn't matter. Once Damar hit the ground, none of that mattered anymore. And but we're gonna push forward here and bring you some other NFL news as well as have a great show and talk fantasy football and recap the championship week that was. A lot of greatness. Mike Evans, Tom Brady showing up, right? And a lot of duds. Justin Jefferson comes to mind in a hurry. Wow, that was tough. TJ Hawkinson kind of got it at the end, but he had a tough game. Thinking about that game there, Aaron Jones still wasn't great. So a lot of playoff implications or a lot of fantasy implications that a lot of teams, a lot of guys did not show up this week on championship Sunday.
Of all days, right?
All days.
But yeah, it's wild. I don't think, it's kind of like it brings us back to that 2020 COVID year where there was so much uncertainty and these fantasy things, they seem arbitrary now when you look at the gravity of that situation. Of course, I can't stress that enough. But there needs to be some sort of a conclusion to it. And there's a lot of scenarios that can get tossed around on how you, as a commissioner, if there are any commissioners out there listening, feel free to drop any comments in the show comment section, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. But we are going to throw some scenarios out at you. And, if you're championships, I know some leagues out there, they do a 2-week championship. So there is some injury news for those leagues that do run that way. We can kind of start there, and then we'll go into our championship experiences after that. So just starting with James Conner, right? He ended up leaving that game early in what was basically a nonsense game with the Cardinals playing. I mean, it didn't.
David Blau versus Desmond Ridder.
It didn't matter. Nothing really meant anything in that game, but James Conner ends up leaving that one early with a shin injury. Teddy Bridgewater injures his hand, second string. So, Dolphins are down to Mike Glennon going into week 18 with no Tua.
Maybe some Skylar Thompson, the rookie.
Maybe. I'd love to see the K-State man get out there and make some plays. We saw a little bit of it, but it didn't look that great. No. It wasn't the preseason Skylar Thompson.
He doesn't look like Brock Purdy out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's Mike McDaniel hasn't picked up that part of the Shanahan offense just quite yet, or taught it yet anyway.
It's such a bummer out in Miami because they've had a great season.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they had the last month hasn't been great. What are they, 0-4 in December? But they were riding so hot, had such a great year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still a win away. I believe if New England loses to Buffalo and Miami wins, Miami's in the playoffs. And I think and then what's the third team trying to
Steelers
get in there? The Steelers. So they need both of them to lose, right? Yeah. So just thinking about how Miami got here and all this talent they have, and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and this high-flying offense, and we might not see him in the playoffs, and that's going to be a bummer. I was kind of hoping if the Chiefs got the 2 seed, why not bring Tyreek back?
It'd be a nice matchup, a good story, obviously, and it's
a fun game.
We'd be welcoming Tyreek Hill back with open arms, of course, to come and perform an Arrowhead. I think that would be so exciting to watch as a season ticket holder. But yeah, I saw a graphic. They started the season 0-3, went 5-0, and then they went like 0-3 again, won 3 more, and then went 0-5. So it was like it was something like that where they just kept going on these streaks where they were just either winning in bunches or losing in bunches. And that's just, I think a lot of it's due to the health of Tua this year. That's been a big hindrance for them. And then also that defense has been awful.
Yeah, they're not there yet. A couple other quarterbacks that's going to affect if you're playing week 18, you really have to keep this in mind as Justin Fields is going to be out this week. No reason to rush him out there. I even saw the Bears can still get the number 1 overall draft pick if somehow the Texans were to win this week. So,
wow.
No reason to throw Justin Fields out there this week. Lamar Jackson, we were kind of talking about a pre-show a little bit. Still unknown when we're going to see him play, right? He's been out for a month now, not practicing still. So definitely not playing him this week. If you have anything kind of fantasy wise this week, I'm
Just
staying
not
away from
worth
Lamar
it.
Jackson.
Just not worth it at all.
I'm not even sure he's worth it. And I just drafted him on Underdog today, but I'm not really sure it was worth it. I did it just because I had no Ravens, but they're in the playoffs, so they're going to be there. But who knows? That's a week away. Is he going to be ready next week? In playoffs on the road, they'd be going to, I guess, Tennessee or Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, I mean they're currently sitting as a 5 seed. I don't know that there's a scenario that sees them and the Chargers swapping places. But yeah, they'd be going to Jacksonville to play, or Tennessee, depending on who wins the AFC South. So there's a lot up in the air about that. But you know how Twitter gets. There's all this speculation. He is in a contract year. Are they gonna try and trade him? Maybe tag and trade kind of a situation. Those talks stalled last offseason as they were working towards an extension. So you just never know what's going to happen. And, that's a really big possibility. I think that's why DeAndre Hopkins, another player, ruled out for this week. That's my speculation, is that they're going to try and trade DeAndre Hopkins this offseason, and they want him healthy for that.
Yeah, and you might as well at this point in his career. And as a DeAndre Hopkins manager in multiple dynasty leagues, I think I would like to see that.
Yeah,
find an offense that's competent.
Exactly.
Because he's never going to be the DeAndre Hopkins of the past, but he still showed out when he was on the field this year. He's still the alpha, right? And so if he can go somewhere that they can just feed him 12 targets a game, he's still going to have great value for you in dynasty leagues. He is getting older, but I'm like a hold on him right now. Usually at this age, I'm kind of ready to move on from him, but with him potentially moving teams this year, I'd like to see where he goes before I make a move.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I think the Cardinals might even be more inclined to do it with their recent trade for Marquise Brown, and also Kyler Murray just had ACL surgery today. So pretty far off from that recovery, probably won't be available until, my guess is, mid to late November, just based on how the recovery goes for that kind of an injury. So, Cardinals may be seeing 2023 as a wash.
By the way, I went back and looked. So Baltimore is actually the 6th seed now, and so they would need to win and have Los Angeles lose to take back the 5 seed. As it currently sits, and we are completely unsure what the NFL is going to do about the Bengals and Bills game, but as it currently sits, Baltimore 6th seed would go right back to Cincinnati. Maybe they wouldn't stay in Cincinnati because how close they are, but they'd go right back to Cincinnati the following week in round 1.
Back to back. Wow.
So not sure I'm even intrigued with Lamar, not playing that defense.
Not playing Cincy, that's for sure. Now, a quarterback that is still interesting, Jalen Hurts. He was a limited participant today. He did practice some last week. They ended up holding him out of the Saints game. I think he suits up this weekend. I think, with him playing the Giants are resting a lot of players this week, and Vegas has them currently as 14-point underdogs against this Philly team who's fighting to not only, maintain the 1 seed, but secure that division, the NFC East. So I think there's a really good chance that Jalen Hurts suits up this weekend.
Do they need to suit up? If you're here, thank you for being here. Hit the like button and jump in the chat and let us know some of these answers too. But do you think they need to play Jalen Hurts this week? Like you said, the Giants have nothing to play for. They cannot move out of the 6th seed. They are set. The only thing that can happen in the NFC is movement with 1 through 3, and then the 7th seed. 4, 5, 6 is set in the NFC.
Right. The way I could see it playing out is Jalen Hurts maybe plays the first 2 quarters, maybe 2.5 quarters. If they get a comfortable lead, they pull them. Maybe it's a situation where they start resting starters so that at that point, but they're going to want to make sure that they're winning this game, right? They're not going to, and then Jalen Hurts has sat out the last 2 weeks. They're going to want to get him back up to speed, get him comfortable with that injury. And, you don't want to test the test the injury out the first week of the playoffs, and then things don't play out the way you're wanting them to, or maybe he's not up to speed yet. So could be kind of a tune-up situation, if you know what I'm saying, kind of preseason-esque, where he plays.
Yeah, get him out there a little bit. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of it for the injury front. As far as those fantasy relevant players go, of course, there were other situations for players on the defensive side of the ball, but just kind of keeping it fantasy centric with that side of things. So, I mean, from there, we can really just kind of hash out what our championship game scenarios look like.
How many did you get?
I had 4 teams go to the playoffs, went to 2 Super Bowls, and I did not end the week in the lead for either of my Super Bowls. And that was mainly because of the players that I had in Monday night's game.
Yep.
Now, I was down 15 points in one of my leagues with Josh Allen left, and I was going against a kicker, the Bills kicker. In the other scenario, I was only down a few points with T. Higgins, and he had Joe Burrow. So that was going to be a little bit tougher of a situation to come back from. And then with the other one, I felt pretty confident that I was going to come back and take that one. But with the one team that I had T. Higgins left in is my family league. I'm the reigning champ in that league. So was good. This is actually I checked the history of the league. This is my 3rd year in a row making it to that Super Bowl, which is kind of wild. I've only come away with one ring so far, but just to get there is awesome and super fortunate. I started Kirk Cousins. He had a dud of a game. I started Aaron Jones, who did all right. Ramondre did not do well. Justin Jefferson and Jalen Waddle each did not do well. Travis Kelce did not have a great game. And then I started, luckily, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense put up some great points for me. And then I had Daniel Carlson, the Raiders kicker. So, I mean, not a good – obviously a team that carried me to the Super Bowl. I scored more points than any team has in our league's history. But the team just totally flatlined in the championship, and it was kind of crazy how the stars aligned for that.
That's why we always say, like, even moving up to the playoffs, just get in. You never know what's going to happen. Once you're in the playoffs, it's 1 week and 1 week only. You never know what's going to happen. I took a 4th place team, a 6th place team to the championship game. Like, everybody's sitting around 9-5, 8-6, whatever the case is. And so all of your teams are kind of evenly matched once you're in the playoffs, and you never know what's going to happen. You're scoring all these points all year long, and then the Super Bowl happens and your team doesn't show up. So you just never know. Just try to get in the playoffs, and once you get there, anything can happen. I had just about as much luck as you did. I was in 3 of them, and I came away with 1. So a second one, I had Gabe Davis, Tyler Bass, but he had I was down 20, but he had Josh Allen. So I just texted him. I was like, I'll concede here. I'm the commissioner of that league. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But I was like, it's like, there's no way. I wasn't coming back. I could have as much hope as I wanted to, but the reality is I was not making it back in that game. And then I have another one. I'm down 25 with T. Higgins left. 29, with T. Higgins left. I also had the Ramondre Stevenson, Justin Jefferson stack in that one. But I did. So last week I played Isaiah Hodgins in a semifinals for the Giants, made it through the championship game. This week I played Richie James, like nailed them back-to-back weeks. Love those Giants wide receivers going to the playoffs. But unfortunately, I'm still down 29. We haven't talked about that one yet, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there. But I would say if I'm just being an honest man, I went 1 for 3. Got a championship out of my family league that we started up this year, beat my brother-in-law, but didn't take down the 2 that mattered more to me than that. The family league's more for fun than the other 2 are. So but it's all good. A couple second place finishes. I got 2 third place finishes. So still overall I'll take 5 teams in the top 3 at the end of the year.
I ended up with a third place finish in one of the leagues that I was in as well. Of course, that team totally flatlined in the first round of the playoffs, and then they popped off. I had, Devontae Adams in that scenario where he just had 1 catch last week and then pops off for 30 plus this week. So you just never know what's going to happen. And my other Super Bowl that I'm, waiting on, which, when we talk about these scenarios that you can do as a commissioner, these are we did implement that one in a league that I'm in. So, the contingency is in place in case they do not end up rescheduling or commencing rather this game. So, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those scenarios like you just never know what's going to happen. Even in your scenario, you know what I mean? You're down 20 points. You have Gabe Davis and the kicker, Tyler Bass with Josh Allen. It could have been a scenario where Josh Allen throws a long touchdown to Gabe Davis. The defense shuts him down and Tyler Bass kicks 5 field goals and you're in. So that's the thing with the game not being played. Now, if it's a 50-point gap, then that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
But anything less than like 20 or 30 and you got a couple players involved, it's kind of like, well, man, we don't know what would have happened in this game. And you want to be as fair as possible as a commissioner. And the hard truth is, and this is the same situation for the NFL as they try to decide what the best course of action is. There's not going to be one single perfect way to maneuver through this situation. There's not going to be one single way that's 100% fair for everybody involved. And, the only solution that I'm totally opposed to is ending the game as is. Otherwise,
unless it's a, 50-pointer and you've got one player. Something like that. Yep.
So, the idea is to try and give everybody an opportunity to not only not be penalized for the players that they decided to start, but not be penalized for starting any players for the Bengals or the Bills. So, which is a fine line to toe.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're with us here, thanks for being here. Hit that like button. Let us know in the comments, how is your fantasy league handling this? How is your fantasy league closing up the championships for week 17? Do you have a team that's impacted by this game? Let us hear it. Maybe you have a scenario you want us to work through. We'd be happy to work through that as we move forward and talk about this a little bit. I'll give my thoughts here. Just, it's difficult. Commissioner of 4 leagues, and a couple of them it's been a little easier, right? One of them that I'm commissioner in, I'm the one down 20. I'm like, hey, look, you're good to go, right? Another league, a guy is up 59 with just a quarterback, just Joe Burrow left, and the guy who was in the lead texted me. He initiated, which if you're not a commissioner, you can also initiate some of this, right? You can show grace and help your commissioner if you're the one in the championship league. He reached out to me, shout out to Tyler, and he said, look, he can just have Joe Burrow's week 18 points if you want.
Yep.
Now the guy's up 59 points. So maybe if he's up 12, maybe he doesn't say that, right? But the fact of the matter is that made my life a lot easier. I go to the other guy, I say, hey, look, what do you think about this idea? At least it gives me a shot. It's the only shot I've got. I might as well take it. So I think that first and foremost, just relax and give it time. The NFL, essentially, they're going to have to make a decision, I assume, before Saturday at 3:30 when Week 18 kicks off. But up until then, they don't have a reason to push this or make a decision instantly. So give them some time to work through it. And when they make a decision, then that kind of helps you make a decision. So take your time with it. We're not in a rush. It's not in a hurry. There's no Thursday night game this week. So you don't have to close this out right now. You can use week 18 if you want to. You can use averages. You can use projections. You can wait until they play the game. Like, there's so many different options. But I would say first, as a commissioner, understand it's not your responsibility to make this decision today.
Right.
You're going to be if you're live with us tonight, you shouldn't have to make a decision. If you're going to listen to this on audio on Thursday morning, you have time to make a decision. Take that time. Let the NFL make the decision first, and then you can really make a decision, especially in those really close games. We have in my big dynasty league, we've got a championship game that's got a player from both sides, and right now it's a 5-point game. I mean, it's legitimately, it could go either way. It was T. Higgins versus Joe Mixon, right? It could go either way. Any one of those two guys can win. They both came to me and said, yeah, let's just split the pot and move on. We can be co-champions. Makes my life easier. I don't have to make a decision. Unfortunately, we still have to make a decision in another dynasty league, but there's things like that that's out there that make it as fair as possible. Be as fair as possible. If the game is still in reach, you have to do something unless both guys and gals come to you and say, hey, look, let's just be co-champions. Let's split this thing down the middle.
Right. Now, that's one of those things, right? You mentioned a couple of these scenarios, and these are all contingencies if the game is not played, right? Obviously, they play the game, they pick it up, then those points would be accoladed to those Super Bowl totals. But if they're canceled, right, I've seen a lot. I've actually, as a commissioner, took it upon myself to kind of look at other scenarios that people were doing today in late last night so that I could present some scenarios to my league. Now, okay, Lee here is saying, why can't you take weekly average as a score for all players in Monday night's game? That's definitely a viable solution, right?
Absolutely.
And that was something that was presented in one of my leagues as we were discussing it. And so it's myself and another one of the guys in my league who are in the Super Bowl championship. And we had a third place game that was also super close. I think it was like a 20+ point difference, but the team that was down 20 had Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs. So, there was an opportunity for them to secure third place. And so I grabbed those other three guys, put us all in a group text. I said, okay, hey, listen, this is kind of what's going on here. Obviously, I think everybody's in agreement that if they play the game as it would have been played normally, then you get those points. That's no big deal. Everyone's on the same page there. But the contingency here, we need to all agree on. And I don't think the other league members have any right to kind of weigh in on this decision,
100%.
right? So,
I mean, they can give their opinions or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's those 2 or 4, whatever the situation is.
Exactly.
That's who really needs to have the most weight in the decision.
Exactly. Now, if we were setting a league precedent, then we could put it up to a league vote or something like that. But in this particular scenario, it's something that has not happened before, right? So you're wanting everyone to feel as if they're involved directly anyway, that they have a say in it, and it's because they have that right to have that say in it. So one of the solutions I presented was, average points for each of those players. We accrue those, and then that's it. Another one was projections, right? Because all these apps, they put out score projections for these players. And if we just go with what was projected at the time when the game ended, that could be the end result, right? Which, it's hard to use those two solutions because you don't know the ultimate outcome of what would have happened. So we ended up deciding on using the week 18 scenario where these guys are going to be playing week 18 games. We'll take those points, add them to the score totals that we have now, and that will be your Super Bowl results. Now, of course, there's other scenarios too, right? You can make it a 2-week situation where, the final score for this week is what it is. We rerun week 18. Let the two lineups get set with whatever players you want to plug in and run it that way. And then we just add those two up. Whoever has the highest score wins, which is something that's pretty common amongst a lot of redraft leagues and leagues in general, where they do 2 weeks per playoff round. So that's something that definitely was discussed and is being discussed in another league that I'm in. And then there's also just the rematch where you just throw week 17 out the window and count week 18, which I'm not particularly a fan of that scenario, especially when you consider all the players that are likely going to be resting for various teams. Now, this year is a little different. There's no clear cut. I don't feel like there's a lot of clear cut teams that are kind of locked into their seeding this year, as we've seen in other years. So, maybe that's a situation where it would work. But I feel like the other alternatives that we kind of mentioned are a little more fair, a little more impartial, if you will.
Yeah, I really don't like the completely throw everything out and play week 18. I don't like end game as is unless it's completely a blowout and had nothing to do with it.
Or someone concedes, right?
Yeah, I think the way I am leaning the most is if they come out by Saturday at 3:30 and they say we're not playing this game, it's going to end in a no contest or a tie, whatever the NFL would say, then it's utilizing those Bengals-Bills points in week 18.
Yep.
Just if they were in your starting lineup, you know what? You get one more chance. You're going to get a game. Because let's be honest, like it's not like you maybe, and even if you were, you're going to be happy about it anyways. Maybe you didn't play Josh Allen over Justin Fields because I came on here and told you not to last week. But if you still played Josh Allen, maybe the reason you played Josh Allen was because it was against the Bengals and you really wanted those points. But the reality is these guys that you would have been playing, you're playing every week. You're playing T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Steph Diggs, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow every week, Joe Mixon. Maybe you're not playing Gabe Davis every week. Maybe you're not playing, I don't know,
Dawson Knox,
right?
Yeah.
Devin Singletary. So there might be some ancillary pieces there that you're not playing, but the reality is you're going to play them every week. So you're probably still going to be happy to get some sort of points from them this week. The matchups are not nearly as juicy with the Patriots and the Ravens, but it's something. And that's kind of my favorite overarching option. But really to me, it comes down to what you mentioned earlier. Go to the people who are in the championship game and talk to them about it. Here's options. That's what we're doing, right? We're laying out, here's a whole bunch of different options you could use. But as a commissioner, go to those teams and talk to those teams so it can be a collective championship decision between the teams involved in the commissioner or commissioners of the league. But yeah, I think these are all great options. I haven't really heard a whole lot more outside of these options. I think that I was trying to think. I think there was one other one that I had sent to me, but I don't remember off the top of my head. So I think these are pretty well your options that you have. And you're muted, Dan. Here we are. That's not bad. This is like our third live show, and that's the first time we've tried to talk without
first
being
time
muted.
I'll slap on the wrist this
That's
time,
not
right?
bad.
Usually pretty cognizant. I feel like whenever we record the shows, I usually do it like once or twice.
That's right.
So the live shows have been a little better, a little more
more attentive here
on the game. But no, I think the most important thing is kind of this is what I was saying. I think the most important thing is that the people that are participating are in agreement, right? There has to be compromise on both sides, especially if it's a close game, and there has to be understanding, or else the commissioner is going to be forced to make a decision on their own accord. And usually, if I'm playing in the game and I'm not commissioner, then I wouldn't be thrilled about that. I'd rather feel like I have a say in it.
Yeah, that's interesting you say it, because I'm only in one championship game that I'm not the commissioner in. That sounds like collusion, but no. I haven't said a word,
Trevor.
I just let him breathe. I haven't said anything to him. I'm down 29 points. I firmly believe T. Higgins could put up those kind of numbers. So tell me, Dan, let me give you another scenario. You say Week 18. You can use their points in Week 18. From what I've read, T. Higgins may still be at the hospital with this kid. He has taken it really, really hard, right?
Right.
If you don't know, T. Higgins is the man that DeMar hit and tackled whenever he got injured. So maybe T. Higgins doesn't play this week for the Bengals. I don't know if that's a possibility right now. But if you started T. Higgins and you're going to say, hey, look, week 18 is you're going to take those points, how would you handle that?
Right. I mean, I feel like in that situation, you have to be kind of working that in on your compromise, on your negotiation. So it's like, T. Higgins may or may not play. Here are my other 3 options. Is it like I let my opponent pick who I'm putting in to like even that out? Is it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's any right or wrong answer here.
Yeah.
Is it, T. Higgins may not play. If they don't play, we use his season average as the points, or his projection from week 17 as the points. Those are all different things, and it's like it kind of puts you in a situation where you have to have a contingency for your contingency, and plan A, B, C, D. So, there's always, I don't think there's ever going to be a right answer here in this scenario. It's just a matter of making sure that you account for as many of those things as possible and that everybody agrees to it. So, I mean, you could propose that if your opponent isn't like it, then I think it's on them to kind of counter with something that's going to be fair. If they do oppose it. So, those are all things to kind of look at with this scenario. And it's like, you just, it almost feels kind of crappy to have to talk about all this. Like, I know we're a fantasy football show, and these are reality situations that people are having to deal with, but it's just so arbitrary compared to what this comes from. So, just kind of like understand that situation and try and be empathetic with who you're going against, I guess, and understand that it's no one's fault, and it could be much worse. Right. So, just try and be fair, and maybe it's a situation where you guys split the pot and become co-champions if they don't play. Like, just try and be creative.
Right?
You know what I mean? Be creative, be amicable. Usually with these leagues, you're playing with people that you love and care about. So, everyone's going to be understanding, I think, at the end of the day, in most situations.
The only thing I would add is potentially somebody who was on your bench on week 17, you could say, I'm going to start this person in week 18 and take those points. Like, that's the only other thing I could think of. But
yeah,
I agree here. Let's talk week 18 and the playoffs. I think we're going to jump into some drafts here, but if you have anything else or questions about week 18 specifically, let us know. If you're playing in week 18 and you've got some start sits, throw them in the chat. We're not going to go real heavy into week 18. We talked about it kind of at the top of the show, just because not as many people are playing week 18. But if you have start sits questions, we will definitely answer those. Right now, let's hear from NFL Plus. And then, Dan, what do you think? We should jump in some drafts here?
Man, I'm so excited for this, actually. You got me hooked last week.
I'm telling you, that's where it's at. All right, let's hear from NFL Plus, and then we'll jump into Underdog. Well, the NFL season is here, and so is NFL Plus. NFL Plus allows you all your local games, all the primetime games, and even coaches film with select subscriptions starting at just $4.99 per month. Click on the link in the episode description to browse options and enjoy the NFL on the go. Take the NFL anywhere you are this season and join NFL Plus today. Oh, let me get this banner off here. What's going on?
Hey, NFL Plus.
Hey, let's talk about the playoffs real quick before we jump in the draft itself. I want to hear in the chat, who do you guys think is going to make the Super Bowl? Give me your Super Bowl predictions, because when we do these underdog drafts, we kind of want to have an idea who's going to make the Super Bowl. But let's pull up the actual playoff scenarios. Let me show you here.
There's a lot of shaking that can happen this week.
Yeah, so this is the 538 prediction. So, I mean, we still obviously it's up in the air with the Bengals Bills, but right now Chiefs have a 48% chance to have the bye. Bills at 44% to have the bye. Eagles have practically wrapped up the bye, right? We know the scenario. They need to win. They get the bye. They also run the Super Bowl here. And then we still have the actuals to make the playoffs, right? So Jaguars and Titans have a head-to-head this week. Winner makes the Super Bowl or Super Bowl. Goodness. Winner makes the playoffs in the AFC for the AFC South. Now, is there a way? What if the Jaguars lose? Is there a way they can make it in as so they can still make it in as the wild card, huh?
Yeah, so I
If
think it
all
would need
these
to be
teams
a
lose?
scenario where they all lose. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, not the Rant, not the Seahawks. I don't care about them. The Patriots.
Yep.
So if they all lost in the there has to be all of them.
Yep. Which I thought it was kind of a lose and go home for both teams, but it sounds like that's just the case for the Titans. And they put themselves in that situation by benching all of their players,
Yep.
Against the Cowboys.
So if they lose and all three of those teams lose as well. So I like that kind of gives me a little bit more hope for the Jaguars going into some of these drafts. They're still pretty cheap. I did a bunch of underdog drafts today. They were still pretty cheap in terms of when you're going to be drafting them. And 538 gives the Jaguars a 75% chance to win this game. So that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. I mean, who else is in here still? The Lions, Packers, and Seahawks, right?
Yeah. And if you think about who's starting for the Titans, it's Joshua Dobbs again. So no Tannehill in that game. It's really going to be, I mean, Dobbs didn't really do anything to impress me in that Cowboys game. So, if Trevor Lawrence comes out there and does what he did last week against the Texans, then, there's a really good chance that Jags end up taking this one. I feel pretty confident they're going to win. They're going to get the dub.
I'm all in on the Jags as well, which, that means they get to host a home game. And then if I move over here to the playoff machine, I love this thing.
It's cool.
Starting like week 13, back when the Chiefs were like with Alex Smith and like on the border, like, what do they need? I would run this thing for weeks. Like, I want to know what has to happen to get the Chiefs in. Luckily, since Mahomes has been here, we haven't had to worry that much about if they're going to make it or not. But yeah, so the Jaguars win. They will be hosting probably the Chargers. So that's, I mean, thinking about underdog, just underdog, trying to get out of that first round. The Chargers are a run funnel type defense. So Travis Etienne to me is a guy that should probably be higher in drafts than what we're going to see him here in a moment. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like starting to look at some of these matchups. Obviously, come Monday morning, we're going to know all these matchups, and it's going to, the underdog drafting is going to be off the chain next week, but we're still trying to find a little bit of an edge by drafting this week and kind of projecting which one of these teams are going to be. Just like we projected Super Bowl winners, right? Dallas and the Bills. I think that's actually pretty high. The Bills. Oh, this is to win the Super Bowl. I thought it was just to make the Super Bowl. Bills at 20%, Cowboys at 12%. I have a lot of Dallas in underdog. And then, of course, off the wall, just a little bit, Cincinnati, San Francisco. Do you think Brock Purdy can take this team with all these weapons?
It's not impossible. I think the playoffs are a different game, though, right? Like, okay, so let's say the Packers don't get it done, and you're facing the Seahawks. I think there's a good chance they take care of business against the Seahawks again. But after that, I think you're either looking at, who would that be? Minnesota, Dallas, Tampa. I mean, they kind of have an opportunity to get to the NFC Championship game here. But, they're going to go up against that Eagles team, I think is how it's going to end up. So, Dallas maybe gives you some fits. The Eagles would give you some problems. But, that's kind of it as far as
Yeah.
who I think in the NFC could give them a run for their money. The Bengals rather, in that prediction, they're hot right now. They're probably the hottest AFC team in the league right now. So they come in. We've seen them win on the road in Arrowhead. So that's not like uncharted territory for Joe Burrow in that Bengals offense. They beat the Chiefs 3 games in a row last year. So, those are all, I think both of those, I think that scenario is definitely in play.
Yeah, that's totally 2022, right? Like we're in the new year now. We're not
New year, new Chiefs.
That's right. That's right. I was just trying to think about some of these 7th seeded wild card teams for the AFC. This is just important to know because we want to make sure we're drafting the teams that are actually going to be playing in the playoffs in round 1. So let's go ahead and jump in here. If you want to draft with us, that's closed. I got to refresh. The Mitten 2 closed on us today. I was hoping it would stay on just long enough to get a couple 5s in. That's all right. I got $50 in here. We could draft 2 of the gauntlets. Not
the Mitten was open earlier today.
All.
What time did they close it?
Oh man, I was on dad duty. The boys were napping for 2 hours, and I absolutely just blitzed the Mitten. With a 13 already. I probably did 8 of them this afternoon. Like I was just killing it. So I just wanted to get as many of those $5 ones in as possible, but I kept a little bit in here so we could draft the gauntlet tonight because I knew I knew it was going to fill. It just filled. It's just what it is. So if you're here with us and you want to draft in the gauntlet, try to jump in our draft here, have a little fun. I know that I've talked to a lot of people that are trying to wait till next week just to get in, but let's do this thing. I get it waiting on next week so you kind of know the playoff matchups a little bit more, but
you can maximize on value here.
Exactly. This is you're trying to find a little bit of an edge, trying to project some of this stuff. Hoping it's a little bit more. Only 2. Man, the gauntlet might be quiet tonight.
Here we go.
Gauntlet might be quiet tonight. Who, if you're in the chat, let us know. Who do you think? Eagles? Do you think it'll be the Chiefs or the Bills with the first round buys? Because that's also important. We got to get out of the first round, so you got to make sure that you're playing this right. So who do you predict to be the first round buys? I assume everybody's going to say Eagles. But what do you think about the AFC side? The Chiefs? Technically, the Bengals still have a shot at it. The Bills? Who's going to be that first round buy? Oh, man, it had filled, and then it went away. We got a Bills in the chat.
You cleared everyone. Just about. Man. Yeah, I mean, the Eagles, we talked about earlier, they're playing that Giants team. So, I don't know that the Giants really don't have much to play for. They're not moving from their spot up or down. So I think there's a good chance they lock that one in. And then as far as the AFC, it's hard to say, man, just because you don't know what's going on with that other game. If they do end up, ruling it a no contest or a tie, there are a lot of seeding implications in those scenarios because the Chiefs would maintain the 1 seed in those scenarios. Obviously, they would need to win against Las Vegas, but if they beat the Raiders this Saturday, then it's kind of like, a battle for the 2 and 3 seed between the Bills and the Bengals because those things can still fluctuate. So,
and if they lose, right, then that Bengals-Bills game becomes for the 1 seed.
Right, exactly.
Because if Cincinnati were to beat Buffalo, let's say they both win this week, right? So then they become the 1 seed.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of implications that can come from this week 17 game. I mean, they were calling it the game of the year going into it for a reason. And not just because it was the first meeting between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, not just because of the 2 juggernauts in the AFC out of the 3, but because of all these implications that kind of stem from it as well.
Who do you think gets that 7 seed? Let us know in the chat too. But I also want to know, Dan, what are your thoughts? Who gets that last one? So the NFC, let's run it back one more time. Packers beat the Lions, they're in. If the Lions win and Seattle wins, Seattle's in. And if the Lions win but Seattle loses, then the Lions are in. So those three in the NFC, out of those three teams, who do you think ultimately makes it in as that 7 seed?
Man, I think the Packers, I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers get it done. All they have to do is win. They control their destiny at this point. I'm pretty sure this one's in Lambeau, if I'm not mistaken. They played that first meeting in Ford Field. So,
which was gross. I mean, that might have been the low for the Packers.
It was wild. Aaron Rodgers threw 3 interceptions. 2 of them were in the end zone. I mean, just super uncharacteristic things from Aaron Rodgers. And I don't see it playing out like that again. So, I mean, if I had to pick from those 3 and considering the scenarios, I think the Packers get in. And then on the AFC side, currently the Patriots are holding on to that position. You've got the Dolphins and the Steelers just behind them. Patriots win and they're in. Dolphins win. Patriots lose, they're in. Steelers need both to lose, and they would need to win in that scenario. Steelers are playing the Browns. Patriots face the Bills, and the Dolphins face the Jets. So Jets are coming out hot. Like, they're going to want to end this season on a high note. Robert Saleh's already come out and said that. Dolphins are down to their third quarterback, right? So,
so the Steelers have a legitimate chance of the Jaguars. What if they all 3 lose and the Jaguars win?
Then the Jaguars and the Titans are in, which I think is a scenario that nobody saw playing out.
Because the Titans lost last week, right? So it'll be the Patriots. So if they all 3 lose and Jags win, then the Patriots get but if the Jags lose, then it's the Titans and Jags make the playoffs.
Right.
And all 3 of those teams, I would say the Steelers have the best chance to win. All right, let's jump in here. C-Mac goes first, then Allen, then Mahomes, which is pretty standard in these drafts. But assuming if this guy doesn't take Jalen, take Jalen.
There he goes.
So I think this is really early to take Joe Burrow. I think a lot of people are taking Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow stacks at the end of round 1. What do you want? Where do you want to go this week?
I'm not sure about Travis Kelce here. How do you feel about a tight end?
I mean, he is the man, right?
Yeah. I mean, if not, then Stephon Diggs, I think, would be a fine pick.
I almost want Diggs just because, I mean, I wish we would know, right? Obviously, we can keep going back to it, but if the Bills aren't going to be the 1 seed, love Stephon Diggs. I would take Stephon Diggs over Travis Kelce because you get that extra week. But I don't mind Kelce. I don't mind. There's a lot of cheap Kansas City stacks, so we could stack up. I really want Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I think that's a great snag right here. I
was not expecting him to be there.
He was going to go.
But what I was going to say is, so one thing I'd like to do is if I don't get one of those top quarterbacks is in this scenario, we've got 2 AFC guys. We got Cincinnati guy and we've got Kansas City guy. So we could go build it out almost like a 4-2-2-2 or a 4-3-3 in terms of going NFC for the quarterback. So a Dak, a Brock Purdy, Aaron Rodgers, if you want to go that low, Tom Brady. We could find an NFC quarterback that we like, stack that team with 4 because we're obviously not getting, Joe Burrow or Kelce. And then we just play the AFC the opposite way, right? We play them as the find the NFC team that we think is going to make the Super Bowl, essentially.
Absolutely. And Prescott just went off the board. So, I mean, of these guys, I mean, is Brock Purdy the guy you take here, or not here, but as your quarterback in there? I don't know. If you're looking for a guy in one of the championship rounds at the quarterback position, I think he may be your last best hope.
The nice thing is some of these guys, all the guys on the opposite side have already taken quarterback. So we could wait it out, right? We could pick a couple San Francisco guys here to stack him up with. And maybe we could go Debo. If you like Debo, I think if we're going to go Purdy, I think we definitely got to get Kittle with one of these two picks.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have Chase, so we could get our running back and Joe Mixon as well, because we're not going to get a San Francisco running back because Christian McCaffrey's already gone. So I would say Joe Mixon or Debo. I'm not really high on Debo.
I'm not high on Debo at all, especially coming off the injury. You just don't know what you're going to get from him. I think there's a reason why Christian McCaffrey's going as early as he is because he's getting all those touches. Okay, Tony Pollard goes. That's kind of who I was going to mention next. If you're a believer in the Cowboys making it there, or if, in this guy's situation, he took A.J. Brown, maybe he's taken Pollard as like that contingency in case the Eagles and the Cowboys meet in that divisional round. And there goes Purdy. Yep. This guy didn't have a quarterback, so he kind of had.
He also doesn't have any San Francisco guys.
He's just grabbing best available.
Man, I think we stack it up with Mixon and Chase.
Yeah,
or Kirk.
I think you can wait on those guys.
Like Mixon?
Yeah. I think you can wait on a quarterback, let it come back around. These guys are going to start. See, running backs are getting hot. I think these guys might pluck a couple of them.
I don't think any of those guys would take a Purdy. I'm really surprised that guy took Purdy. Who's MJ fan? Are you guys in our chat? You guys sniping us here? No one want to take Purdy?
MJ fan 23 KC.
KC.
They're local.
They're local. Come on now. Killing us. All right, so let's regroup here on the quarterback situation. Kirk Cousins still out there. You can get a late stack with, like a KJ Osborne. Dalvin Cook is still on the. He just goes Thielen, Hawkinson. So you can get a late Minnesota stack.
Yeah,
I think we might have stacked Minnesota last time we did this.
I like Cousins, Hawkinson if you're stacking Minnesota guys.
And then we kind of just get. Then it makes it feel like the George Kittle pick was just like it kind of screwed us, but whatever. I should have taken Joe Mixon first.
Yeah.
And then we would have had a lot more flexibility.
The thing is, like, we're just so tight end heavy too with this lineup. So you almost don't want to take Hawkinson. What are the other options on a stack? Because you want to, what the idea would be to go NFC here, right?
If Minnesota.
If you're your quarterback.
If this guy takes a second NFC quarterback,
maybe Brady and Godwin.
We could do a Tampa Bay stack. I don't have any Tampa Bay stacks.
Yeah, a Brady Godwin, or if you're big on Mike Evans and Brady's performance from Week 17, maybe we go Evans. But I think Godwin gets more volume traditionally.
Yeah, I think what you can do is, man, I want to take Godwin first.
How do you feel about Juju still on the board?
Do you think we could wait it out for Tom Brady another around? If we took Juju and Godwin?
Potentially. I think there's a chance for that.
Oh, I didn't get Juju up there. How did Juju not get there? Okay, this guy. Oh, well. That's all good.
Yeah.
I think we take our quarterback.
Yeah, let's snag him.
I think we just take our quarterback and
take that stack where you can.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so right now we've got Tom Brady, Chris Godwin stack. We've got Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase as a Cincinnati bring back. We've got Travis Kelce. We also got George Kittle. So I think we just ignore George Kittle, whatever. I think we have to get some more Tampa Bay in here. And honestly, we could
Fournette.
I was going to say we could potentially, if the cards fall right, we might be able to get Mike Evans and Fournette next time around. Mike Evans, Fournette. And then if that happened, then we would end up with two more picks that we could kind of mix and match Chiefs and Bengals guys in.
Right. And Pacheco just got snagged.
Now let's see what else. What other KC guys are out here? Tony MVS Hardman is back now. Last week when we were talking, I
like
wasn't even
Tony
sure if he was
too.
going to play again. But yeah, Tony's in here. MVS is here to get a second guy. And then if we look at, I'll just click these guys so we see them. Yeah. Let's see who else is here for Cincy. Tyler Boyd's here. I don't think he would make it, but he might.
Yeah, might as well lock him. You don't want to go any Bills guys or nothing like that?
Not in this build because we're already taking a bet
on that prediction.
We're already taking a bet on Kansas City or Cincinnati. Right? And so when you get to the end, the last game, because you play 5 of these 10, one quarterback, one running back, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex, wide receiver / tight end. And then 1 flex, there goes Mike Evans. So you're wanting to give yourself a chance to get 5 of these guys in the Super Bowl, essentially. So if you're gonna go, we could go 3-3-3. So we get 3 Tampa Bay, 3 Cincinnati, 3 Chiefs. So then we're banking on it's gonna be Tampa Bay versus either Cincinnati or Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And if you get that, you've got 6 players and you need 5. So you're covering, essentially you're trying to cover what you need in that last round.
Right.
I think Fournette, there's a lot of guys with 2 running backs already and not a lot of Tampa Bay action. This guy might go Tampa Bay, but he's got a Dallas. So I think we could wait on Fournette.
Yeah. What are you thinking here? Go grab Tony or?
I like Tony or Boyd. Let's do Tony. Let's do Boyd first.
Yeah, I think Boyd would be a good play here first. This guy behind us is kind of going chalk.
Yeah, and it also gives us outs, right? He's not going to take Tony and MVS. If he does, like, so be it. But
okay, going Miami.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with both of those guys.
Yeah.
I'm okay with. Now, if this guy takes Leonard Fournette, we know he's just sniping us. So right now, that gives us Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, which I like that. That gives us a 3 plus a running back. And then Travis Kelce and Kadarius Toney from the Chiefs side of things. And then if we get Fournette, then we've got our running back for the Super Bowl. Kind of, if Tampa Bay, we're literally making a bet on Tampa Bay making the Super Bowl on this build. Like that's what
which is crazy to say out loud, but yeah. You never know.
Still Tom Brady. And honestly, so I've been drafting this 5th and 6th spot all day long. It felt like I don't know why. But if you're not getting one of those first 3, you really have to make a decision like early. What's the quarterback you're taking? And you just kind of got to reach for him and just go after it. Now we were going to reach for Brock Purdy until somebody else reached for him ahead of us. But Travis Etienne goes. That's a nice one-off piece.
Yep.
Let's see what some of these other guys are doing. So this guy, the show's got McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, T. Higgins, Dalvin, Mike Williams, Tampa Bay, Dalton Schultz. That is a random team.
He's all over the board.
So this guy, he might have the highest probability to get out of round 1. If that's the case, so be it. We say good job. We move on with our lives. But he's not going to get much further because once you get further into the playoffs, you have less people who can play.
Right.
So that's not ideal. This guy's got Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders, Ayuk, Goddard,
got some
Eagles. And then, so he's got he double stacked Allen here late with Knox and McKenzie. I guess. Well, yeah, Gabe
Smith,
Davis didn't
Sanders, and
make it
Goddard.
back to. So he's got an Eagle stack too with it, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of Minnesota stack. So he's kind of playing the same game. I'm going Buffalo, but I got to try to get a couple guys from the other side.
Right.
All right, one more pick here. This guy's got 3 running backs already. If he takes Leonard Fournette, come on now.
Be shocked.
He's also got 3 quarterbacks. What the hell?
Christian Kirk goes.
He took Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert. So you can only play one quarterback. You only get one quarterback slot.
So he's really banking on using one guy at a time.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't agree with that. I have rarely played. I'll play 2 quarterbacks if I got one AFC, one NFC, but I haven't done that even a lot. Just try to. Quarterbacks don't necessarily separate themselves that often.
Yeah.
The reason guys like Mahomes, Hurts,
Allen,
and Allen are going early because they're such heavy Super Bowl favorites.
Right.
All right, we've pretty well got a free pick here. We could take another Chief and make it 3. We could take another Bengal. We could take a random running back to help us get out of the first round.
What's that looking like?
Like Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins.
My guy. What about A.J. Dillon?
A.J. Dillon? You want to take A.J. Dillon?
I think he's got the best shot out of these guys to get out of the first round or even make it to the playoffs at this point.
A.J. Dillon it was. So our team ends up how many Tampa Bay? 3 guys? Yeah.
Yep.
Tampa Bay 3, Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin.
I mean,
we've got 3 Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd. 1 Green Bay Packer, 2 Chiefs and Travis Kelce, Kadarius Toney, and then 1 random George Kittle because Brock Purdy got sniped.
Hey, I mean, that Tampa stack, I mean, if you're gonna get players off a team, I don't know. I mean, looking at Tampa, I don't know if you can grab a better group of 3 unless you were to swap Fournette for Mike Evans. And then Cincinnati, like obviously you don't have Joe Burrow here, but Mixon and Jamar Chase are the key players there.
Absolutely.
And there's a good chance they make another run. So,
and I think it's okay to have some of these guys or stack up a whole team with Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd without having Joe Burrow, because I mean, even if it was Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, right? You could have all 3 of them with no Joe Burrow. The reason being is because you're getting all the points anyways.
Right.
And in this case, you're getting all the points except for T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. Like, yes, you want to stack your quarterbacks, but you can also run a team stack without the quarterback. All right. I wanted to look at something here. I want to look at where the Los Angeles guys are going because I think they're still too cheap.
Eckler
Justin Herbert.
Early.
Eckler goes early. Eckler goes in the 3rd round. Mike Williams in the 5th. Where is
Keenan Allen?
Here he is in the 6th.
Yep.
Justin Herbert in the 7th. So thinking of that right there, this same guy right here takes Austin Eckler in the 3rd. He could have, I mean, I think Mike Evans in the 5th was a little early, but if he falls down, he could have taken Eckler, Williams, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert. Like, that's another team that when you talk about getting all the players, that's getting all of the Chargers.
Yeah.
And that's cheap. That's cheap. You could go, if that was the case, I'd go super heavy NFC early, right? Like a Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, like this guy did. Or not Stephon Diggs, like a AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, or Justin Jefferson.
Right.
Christian McCaffrey, something like that. And then take those Chargers guys late. I like that a lot. What do you want to do? Do you want to shut it down? You want to do one more? I'll leave it up to you.
We're at 109. I mean, I'm good to run another one if you want to get in there. This is fun.
All All right, chat. We'll do another one, but only if you guys all hit the like button. Everybody got to hit the like button here.
Got to
Hit
see
the
those
like
thumbs
button.
up.
Let us know. Did you like that first draft, the Tampa Bay stack? Yes or no? Let us know in the chat. You like that Tampa Bay stack? Ah, this one's already filled. That's what I like to see.
Hell yeah. We're going to
That's
run
what I like
right
to
into
see.
it.
A couple badges. Gotta love that.
Had a
Back at the
couple in
fifth
that
spot.
last one too.
Back at the fifth spot.
What are they?
This is killing me, man.
What's the deal here? They just throw you wherever the hell they want, or the badges get priority?
Yeah, apparently they get the priority. They get the one spot, man. I need to draft more often, I guess. That's what they're telling me. So last time we took Kelsey, so let's get a little different this time. Do you want to do that Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow stack at the beginning? I'm only saying that if the top four fall to number 5, I say we go with them, one of those guys.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if any of those guys come down the pipe, that's where you got to go. But let's plan on doing that since he's stacked with Chase and Burrow. Who do you grab first, Burrow or Chase?
I think you grab Chase because exactly what I said earlier. If whatever, so say the guy at the turn takes Burrow because he wants a quarterback, that's fine. He's going to have to overreach for Higgins. So if he wants to do that, great. If not, we could still take Higgins back potentially. He has sometimes fallen to the late third, or we could just take Jamar Chase as a one-off at that point.
So there goes Chase.
Jamar Chase goes 2.
So we're getting one of our guys.
That works. I haven't had a lot of Jalen Hurts either. So
there goes Joe Burrow. Sniped.
Man, these guys. All right, so now we actually have a decision to make.
I think we got to go.
McCaffrey or Hurts?
I think we should go Eagle stack here and go Hurts.
Yeah, let's do it. We can get AJ Brown here.
Let's run that Chargers scenario.
Run a Chargers back?
Maybe.
We could see how it goes, but I like that.
Yeah. You got to take AJ Brown here, right?
Yep. AJ Brown here. That's easy.
What a 1-2. Love that.
Look at Kelsey falling.
There he goes.
Mahomes Kelsey stack.
You got to love that.
That doesn't happen very often at all. Most of the time, these two guys are both going in the first. I did see earlier the guy in the set at number 2 got Kelsey. I think I was running like a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase or something. Yeah. He had Kelsey Mahomes from the 2 spot. So that was pretty nice.
So this guy gets Burrow, reaches for Chase. We got someone else over here in the NFC taking, or I guess they got their one player on the AFC, one on the NFC. And then the guy that took Josh Allen isn't even taking. I mean, I guess you can wait on those Bills players, right? Yeah.
Most of the time you can get some later. I think I would have taken Gabe Davis at least. But I think most Josh Allen stacks seem to end up with guys like Dawson Knox, James Cook, those kind of players.
So there goes Pollard. So he's stacking Pollard with CD. So he's probably waiting on Prescott to fall to him later, huh?
All right. Austin Eckler's here. We ready for this?
Let's do it.
We're going to roll that.
On the way back around, are we taking Miles Sanders?
That's what I was about to ask you if you want to do that. We're on the same wavelength right now.
Let's roll it.
We are on the same wavelength. Philly, let's see. All right, so I'll star up some of these Chargers guys as well. I wouldn't mind a 4-4. The thing about it is we know the Eagles aren't going to play in the first week. So if we go 4-4, that's 4 players that aren't going to play week 1 in round 1, but we've got 4 Chargers. So those last 2 picks, we really want to just be the, high ceiling type plays in round 1, right?
Right.
Not necessarily guys who are going to go deep into the playoffs. Look, Spaghetti just got the George Kittle, Brock Purdy we were looking for last time.
Spaghetti.
Come on now. All right, so we'll queue up some of these Charger guys. You could also, if you miss out on Williams or Allen, you could potentially throw in Palmer or
Right.
Everett later.
I think maybe
just to
Everett a
get
little
that
bit
fourth
more
guy.
than Palmer, but
All right, this
now
guy's going Chiefs, San Francisco, looks like. Mahomes, Kelsey, Debo, Ayuk.
that LIV rematch.
I also like when you're in drafts of people that you can see that they're building a specific team, because we can avoid that. We can build the team we want to build.
Right.
Not so sporadic.
There goes Goddard. Yeah, that guy snagged Gabe Davis right before
Oh, yeah.
Tanner could take him. Yep, there goes Dak. So he's got his 3 Cowboys.
These two guys have AFC quarterbacks, so hopefully they don't want to go AFC here.
There's Singletary. Not a huge loss there.
What do you want to do here? He just took a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got San Francisco built up. I wouldn't be surprised though if he wanted to go quarterback. I kind of think we take Herbert.
I'm cool with that.
Take Herbert.
Snag whoever's left of these two on the way back.
If we miss one of these two guys, so be it.
I'm kind of
probably
in the
not going to get them both
camp.
anyways.
I'm kind of in the Mike Williams camp over Keenan Allen. I don't know how you feel about it, but
it's half PPR on Underdog, so it's not a full PPR, which Keenan Allen, it absolutely destroys that. I think Mike Williams has the ceiling games. And I don't really think either. I don't think we'll take Mike Williams. I don't think either one of them is going to come back. Yeah. I was going to say potentially Mike Williams comes back because he's got a lower ADP, but we just saw him go in the top of the 5th round.
Right.
So I don't think either guy was going to come back. So let's take the one that you like. That allows us also, again, like Josh Palmer, I think he's going to be taking more away from a guy like Keenan Allen. Gerald Everett. Mike Williams just plays different in that team.
Right.
All right, so we got our Philly stack. We could throw on, I do want to throw on Quez Watkins. Well, actually, let's see. Do we have any other Philly guys still available? Kenneth Gainwell. I like Quez Watkins.
I like Quez over those other guys that are listed.
All right, so we'll throw Quez on here. We can get him in the last round.
Yeah.
So what and then Palmer, there goes Keenan Allen. 5 picks before us. He almost made it back. Palmer we can get late too. So really, these two guys could be our last 2 picks. So we're open right here. I think we take the guys that we want, the 2 one-off round 1 bangers that we're gonna need. Because right now we're sitting 3-3. 3 Eagles, 3 Chargers.
Is that ETN? Is that Pacheco? I like ETN better if you're looking at running back.
I like ETN. Remember, and especially that kind of plays into our Charger stack.
Mm-hmm.
Right, as a little bring back in round 1.
Right.
Look at us. We're playing daily fantasy 2 weeks early. That's all we're doing.
Got the crystal ball out.
Let's take a wide receiver next. Whatever. Well, after ETN, Mike Evans has huge ceiling. We know that. Gallup.
Yep. I think Evans is the guy if we're going receiver, but
I want to stay away from these Miami guys at this point. Christian Watson,
Christian Kirk.
We just stack up that first week.
Yeah, I like that a lot actually.
Hope the Chargers Jacksonville game just goes off.
Yeah.
I'm down for that. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're playing, right? We're just playing. This is the game that you needed in round 1. And there's always that game.
Right.
And that gives us 6 guys in that game. Which that's, coming in next week, that's probably a lot that'll come into play a little bit more. Some of these bringbacks in round one, because you can't really predict after round one, but you're trying to project the Super Bowl, but then try to play round one. So that kind of allows us to do it a week early.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty good about this so far.
We just need Jacksonville to win. That's it. Because Jacksonville and the Chargers to beat the Broncos, which I don't anticipate being an issue.
Right. Total non-issue. The Broncos.
Unless you're the Chiefs for some reason.
Let's ride, baby.
Chiefs like to let them hang around a little too long for my stressors.
Same.
All right. I think this is I think this is this laid out really well for us. It played out really well.
Yeah, this is looking good.
So this is where Lamar's going, man. Think about a healthy Lamar. The Ravens are in the playoffs, and they've been in the playoffs for a couple weeks.
They're locked.
And Lamar Jackson is being drafted with Daniel Jones.
Oh, man. What a fall from grace.
Yeah. It's been a tough month for that guy. All right, we'll take Josh Palmer. We'll take Quez Watkins. Build ourselves a nice 4-4-2. 4 Chargers, 4 Eagles, 2 Jacksonville Jaguars, anticipating that Chargers-Jaguars game in round 1, and then anticipating a nice Chargers versus Eagles Super Bowl matchup, which is not out of the realm, man. These Chargers.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably another thing, right? People are playing all the home teams, the top 4 teams, whatnot. But we've seen it many times before. Tampa Bay in 2021.
Right.
Last year we saw 2 4 seeds make the Super Bowl. These teams get hot at the right time, and the Chargers are definitely hot at the right time.
No, they're on fire for sure. Well, they won 4 straight coming into this week.
Yeah. They'll make it 5. Let me name this. Make sure we give you some props there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that other draft has ended as well, so I think that could wrap it up for us tonight.
Yeah, man. It was obviously we're getting close to the end of fantasy football, which is a sad thing. But we'll have, you and I, we have a lot planned for the off season, different things coming up. We'll have dynasty drafts and discussions that we can do this off season, which is going to be a lot of fun.
When's our first rookie draft?
Yeah. Couldn't come soon enough. Right.
That's right.
We'll get to kind of look back on all the, predictions that we made come into the season, see how correct or incorrect we were on those things, and give out our end of the season awards and that whole deal. So a lot still left in store, as we move towards the playoffs, and who knows, maybe we'll do some daily fantasy talk and more of this stuff as we get through the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the playoffs. Playoff fantasy is a lot of fun. Dan, I host my own playoff fantasy league, which is a lot of fun. So anybody can shoot me DMs if they want to know more about those. It's a quick game that you pick anybody you want. No draft, no salary cap. You just pick whatever player you want. Play the best plays, and win yourself a contest. So if anybody's out there wants to play a little fantasy playoffs, that doesn't include drafting, that doesn't include salary caps, shoot me a DM. You can join that. But yeah, the playoffs, man, we're going to come back next week, talk a little FFPC playoff challenge. So super excited to do that. Maybe we'll do 2 teams in that as well, just for fun. A whole different ball game. Again, no drafting. You have to choose what players you want to play, but a completely different scenario. So that'll be a lot of fun. I want to just show listeners new things, right? New ways to play, new ways to be involved in fantasy football for as long as possible. We already joke about the rookie drafts. They're coming, but let's have some fun in the playoffs first. So this is a lot of fun. Love doing the underdog drafts. I'll do them again Friday night on my stream, the Rumbles of Red. You can find it right here on the Stadium Rant YouTube page. So please subscribe to the Stadium Rant YouTube page. Follow me on Twitter at TrevorS_FF to know every time I'll be live on our page.
Absolutely. And you can follow me on Twitter as well at Dan_TF40. The other show that we do bi-weekly, one Chiefs episode every Friday, Let's Chief, and one episode every Wednesday for the All 32 Talk. We did drop an episode this morning. We're recording and doing this live show on Wednesday for those of you that listen and on the podcast waves. But we did get out our All 32 episode, so tune in for that. And, won't be any Chiefs episode this week. We're going to kind of press pause on that until the playoffs roll around. But we will be making announcements on our Twitter as well at @thefastest_40. And follow ADP on social media as well at ADP podcast_SR. And that SR stands for our presenter, Stadium Rant. At Stadium Rant HQ. You can follow them on Twitter. We're putting out all kinds of content. We actually have a giveaway going on right now where we're giving away a nice little Funko Pop figure. Michael Jordan dunking in the Black Bulls uniform. It's sick looking. We've already had a ton of entrants and people that are kind of sharing it, retweeting it, that sort of thing. So jump in there, tag your friends. Yep, Trevor's got it pulled up here so you can see what that looks like. Retweet it, tag your friends, follow the pages. That's how you get your entry going. And make sure that you leave a review for us on any platform you're listening to the podcast on, Spotify, Apple, what have you. So appreciate everybody. Enjoy the final week of the NFL season, and we'll see you for the playoffs.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats to turn to a ghost. I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting